Original stories matter. They are the backbone of Nashville, but some local musicians say they are flat out not getting paid.
Tough story. They tell Fox 17 News that they show up for a gig only to find out it's been canceled. No one let them know, and again, no cash. Fox 17 News' A.J. Abel live tonight downtown on Broadway with why there are no repercussions.
Yeah, Scott Stacy. Well, we all walk into a bar down here, we sit down, we listen to some live music, but we really don't know anything about the artists, where they're from, who they are, really anything about them. Well, they say the business practices here are very rough, to say the least, and they acknowledge that part of it is their fault for being afraid to stand up for themselves. That's Max Gunther. He's been a musician since he was a child, and he moved to Nashville more than a decade ago. He says the musicians here are so amazing that people will often meet each other on stage without even rehearsing.
But they're good enough that they can call out the changes on stage in real time and keep up.
But he says there are so many that venues are taking advantage of that huge supply pool.
Lower Broadway described as being the Wild West.
Whitney Murphy says very few people have contracts. They usually work on tips, and sometimes the venues will flat out refuse to pay them.
You demand a contract, it is well understood that they will go somewhere else.
Both have had several experiences where owners refused to pay or told them they're no longer needed when they showed up. Musician Tom Samulak says it's happened to him about a dozen times.
I'm tired of hardworking musicians getting taken advantage of, getting ripped off by venues.
The bar owner that I dealt with this weekend, he expressed to me, he said, musicians are just not business-minded, and that's the problem. And my response to that was, but you are, and you know better, so do what's right.
They say there are absolutely no repercussions for the owners, but recognize that it's partly because they've never stood up for themselves. Gunther says everybody knows each other, and too many people are afraid to speak up for fear of being blacklisted.
For example, just doing this interview, I'm sure that I will probably not get booked at some gigs because I'll be known as that guy who spoke out against the venues.
Murphy runs the Nashville Gig Finder group and is now an activist for musicians' rights. They say they just want mutual respect between musicians and the venues, something that they believe is not a lot to ask for. And Murphy says this is all directly affecting the quality of downtown music, and not in a good way. She says they've all worked very hard to get to Nashville. They've put in their time playing at their local clubs, only to come here and be met with what she called professional isolation and the high rising cost of living. Live on Broadway, A.J. Abel, Fox 17 News.